Yes, well, it's absolutely a group activity. I mean, this is why you can't say a film by or a so-and-so film. If you put that, I don't know how you can look your people you work with in the eye, really, because they must be thinking, what a tosser.
When we went to Cannes, you couldn't walk 50 yards unless someone would shout, Monsieur Loach, bravo, and another 100 yards, Monsieur Loach, you will win the Palme d'Or. And this was right along the promenade, all these big posh people stopping him. And we got 100 yards from the hotel, and there's a dirty little scruffy bloody hamburger seller. He wanted a wash and a shave, his coat was covered in grease, and he looked up and he seen us and he went, ah, Ricky Tomlinson. And I thought that's just about right.
He doesn't cut a figure on a film set that advertises himself as this terribly famous, world-renowned master filmmaker. And I've met some very famous, world-renowned master filmmakers who are so up their arse you wouldn't want to spend any longer than necessary with them.
He has that deceptively quiet, faux diffident manner, which people get taken in by.
If you could equate him to the world of, say, football, he would be Maradona and Pelé rolled into one. That's the stature he's got in this game.
With Ken, the people themselves tell the story. The stories have been told by the important people.
It was always kind of something I wanted to do, but it doesn't exactly get you street cred, you know, acting where I'm from. And then I went to the pictures to see My Name is Joe, and it just absolutely opened my eyes to this whole new world, because to see those characters on screen who you meet and see every single day of your life, you know, it just made me look and think I could do that.
If your friend's betting, but I'm a tooth fairy, just get a strip off, friends.
One thing I learned from Ken Loach, and one thing I've passed on to anybody who wanted to listen, is people get bogged down by characterization. But my character wouldn't do this. Bollocks. People change their mind. People do things out of character all the time, every single day.
Some people don't like Ken, you know, who really can't stand the way Ken has always kind of, you know, rubbed the pile up the wrong way. But that's what Ken's there for. That's what Ken Loach is about. You know, his given task in his life is to rub the pile up the wrong way, you know. And that's, you know, thank God for him.
I'm going to tell everybody what you want. Look at that.
Jesus Christ, you're hot with a brush. That's fucking assault, dude.
Very interesting. There was a guy who was a major disciple of Kieslowski. I said, is it true that Kieslowski, after he retired, said there's only one reason that I will come out of retirement, and that's if I could be a T-boy on a Ken Loach film? Is that true? And he said, yeah, that's very true. And I said, so, I mean, I'm interested. Kieslowski's a pretty full-on, heavy-duty, brilliant filmmaker. What was it with his adoring of Ken? And he said it was very simple. He said Ken Loach was funny.
And I'll tell you something, I've got to buy all my own fucking cleaning stuff, bring it all in my own fucking van, take it out in my own fucking van, and there'll be no fucking cupboards and no fucking lockers.
You're not pleasing, Jack.
I'm not. It's enough to make you fucking swear, isn't it?
He uses a lot of comedians. If you look at his midsection work, he uses a lot of comedians because he knows that they know how to deliver a certain way, in a line a certain way.
I went down one Sunday morning to get a cabbage for dinner. Fell down, stone dead.
Oh, now what did his missus do?
She topped me a tin of peas.
In Riff Raff, there was a section in it where I think where Ricky Tomlinson's telling a joke, which is one of the oldest jokes in the book, which is Effendi, the slippers are on the wrong feet, is the the punchline. Ken loved that. He absolutely loved that. He would have sat there all day just listening to the jokes.
Well, he enjoys a good carry-on film. We've often sat down and recast My Name is Joe with carry-on characters. Sid James, of course, as Joe.
It's the crack. It's something you don't see very often in films.
Don't stick one up your fucking hole, go in there.
People sometimes say, do you put the humour in to sweeten the pill? Well, not at all. It is absolutely implicit. And the same people, the same situation can be tragic and funny at the same time. And the humour is absolutely integral to living together in the way we do. And terms like social realist are really obstructive because, again, people think, oh, I'm going to see a social realist film, so everybody's going to be downtrodden and speaking an accent I can't understand, and they're going to be bored to tears. So that is therefore what they then see, and they don't see what actually is in front of them, which is very funny, lively people maybe caught in some tragic dilemma or comic dilemma.
Amazing opening of Raining Stones. There's no gag, it's two guys chasing a sheep.
Come on! Come back!
We know instantly they are urban creatures. These are not two farmers trying to catch a rogue sheep, and we suspect they don't want it as a pet. And you're just allowed to see the desperate absurdity of what it is these two men are trying to do.
I can remember the farmer having a bet. Bet you £200 you won't catch one. I said, no, I think you're right, mate. You know, they run too fast. But I caught one. I've got the bastard! Hold it! I've got it! What do I do with it? Get hold it! And I looked up and I got one. Ken's going, yes, he's got a sheep. And the farmer's going, I wish he'd done. I'm glad he did set the bet, you know.
Oh, the shit all off! Look at this!
He has this special love of comedians. Like I do a little bit of comedy, Bruce Jones does a little bit of comedy, and he sort of gets all the best out. I don't know how he does it.
Get on this side.
Oh, let me fucking take it!
Throw that bleeding thing! Come here.
Fucking got it.
I've got it.
God blimey, it's got loads of bottle in it.
What do you get off the sheep, anyway?
Foot and mouth disease unless you wear a condom.
Oh, very clever, very so, yeah.
What's always fascinating to me, and to Ken as well, is when you look at stories like where the power relationships lie. You know, what are people up against? You know, what is their situation? How do they see their world?
Well, I've been interested in the point when Ireland gets its independence for a long time.
The War of Independence emerges out of a situation whereby Sinn Féin, the Republican Party in Ireland, set up an independent parliament and declared an Irish Republic. And essentially the British government suppressed the Republic. And that's when things get really nasty.
You've got the sort of big historical canvas, and you've got characters in the foreground who are living through that.
Every single character is fictional, but in another way, I hope they're very real. I didn't want to be bogged down by the biographical and geographical detail, you know, of every individual's life, whether they are, did they say that at a certain time, but to be true to the spirit of the times.
While soft the wind blew down the glen and shook the golden valley.
Damien, when we see him, is a character in conflict with himself. He is a doctor, he's going to get experience in a London teaching hospital. That's his career.
You can't leave us now, Damien. Some of us have the brawn. Some have the brains. Not after this. We need you no more than we ever needed you.
He goes to get the train to London, and there's another conflict on the station involving soldiers and the train driver.
On the train!
I'm not moving the car.
Get back on the train! Dave! Oh, fuck the man like that! Fucking bastards! Bastards! Come on!
When it comes to his doorstep, when it comes right to touch his life, that's when he feels that he can't stand by.
I do solemnly swear that to the best of my ability, I will support and defend the government of the Irish Republic.
I know you wouldn't get that train.
Did you know?
Because would have kicked your arse if you had.
The rebels then are forced to sort of form flying columns, really, to sort of go on the run, if you like, and, you know, stage ambushes and so on.
He would never have been sort of proactive in that, whereas his brother is very much, you know, the man of action. This motley crew of like young men in West Cork ran the British Army out effectively, and through this form of guerrilla warfare. So it's, you know, ripe with drama.
Here's what we've done. We've sent a message to the British cabinet that will echo and reverberate around the world. If they bring their savagery over here, we will meet it with a savagery of our own.
At that stage, a truce is called. The leadership of the Republican movement goes to London, negotiates the Anglo-Irish Treaty. The movement splits, Republicans versus treatyites, if you like, anti-treatyites versus treatyites, and this is what occurs in the film then, and then it's comrade against comrade, brother against brother.
This treaty makes you a servant of the British Empire. You have wrapped yourself in the fucking Union Jack, the butcher's apron, boy.
You don't do anything stupid, Damien.
Do you realise you've been telling me that since I was 12 years of age?
The conflict of the brothers throws up all the big questions. So if you do become involved in the story, you have to become involved in the choices of the characters. Then you end up taking a position on things.
Lads, can we see you in your firing positions here?
This is the one.
Yes, but back into the hill.
This one's fine.
It's interesting that it took somebody like Ken to actually go and address and make a film about it.
It took an Englishman to come over for me to force me into position to examine my own history.
Right, okay. So can everyone tuck in over the side?
Ken said to me a couple of weeks ago, it'd be really good to do just another big one, really, wouldn't it? It would be good fun, wouldn't it? And so we probably will do another big film. There's no hope of stopping, I don't think.
I don't know why you keep going. There are easier ways of passing the time. I mean, it is physically quite demanding, particularly, you know, chasing up and down the hills and getting soaked and finding you haven't got the right shoes on and all that stuff. But, you know, if you're sharing it with people, well, you know, you get wet feet together, really.
He is driven. There's no question, and I don't know why that is, other than that is his, the way his instinct leads him. He rarely sits still, always on the move.
Rather than use a walkie-talkie to talk to an actor on the other side of the hill, he would run down the hill, across the road and up to the other side of the hill and run back to the camera. So don't anyone think that this is some kind of coming to the end of the road for Ken Loach. This is the, you know, he's well on his way to making a lot more films.
I think Ken will go on directing until he drops. And all the other aspects of his life are there, but they're sort of not in vivid colour like his filmmaking is. He's very single-minded and always has been.
I don't know. I mean, quite where to start, really. I was I lived in a town in the Midlands for the first 20 years of my life, Nuneaton. A good place to grow up, really, in the 40s and 50s, because not a lot happened there. It was just very settled, and it made me respect that, the need for a settled life for people and for kids, because out of that, then you generate your own enthusiasms, and there's a kind of sense of protection and safety in the community. I passed 11 plus and went to the grammar school, and the grammar school was a deeply unfair system, but those who were lucky enough to pass went to a very nice school. I had one brilliant teacher, a history teacher called Sidney Reed Brett. Everything was broken down into causes, events and results, really. And you'd have root causes and immediate causes. And you'd have immediate results and long-term results. And it meant you were forced to dismember and analyse the subjects rigorously. And he was terrific. He would say, you give me the ingredients, but you haven't baked the cake. And you must, when you answer the question, you must bake the cake. And this became one of his sayings. But I think it was hugely valuable afterwards, because you have to ask the fundamental question, is this true? Is it worth describing? Is it the story worth telling? I wasn't interested in cinema at all, really. There was a cinema that showed what we called continental films, which were usually X-rated, so we sneaked into those whenever possible. But no, I was interested in the theatre. Well, I thought about being an actor and was and did my best to become one, but I don't think I was very good. So I'm probably the worst actor in England at the time.
I think he sort of puts himself down a bit more than he needed to. I think probably by his own standards, what he requires of actors now, he wouldn't have been cast.
From university, I got a job in the theatre as an understudy in a revue called 1 over the 8, which starred Kenneth Williams and Sheila Hancock. And I understudied Lance Percival. And mercifully for the theatre-going public, never had to go on. But it would have... I daren't think of the catastrophe that would have occurred. And then got a job as assistant director at Northampton Rep and directed the murder plays because the resident artistic director wasn't too keen on those. I did Murder at Key Cottage, I did Murder at the Vicarage, which I think is a Miss Marple play. And the lady who played Miss Marple, who was a senior, very sweet lady, her memory wasn't the best. And in the final scene, when it's being unravelled who the murderer is, it never came out. So the audience, they left the theatre with the murderer unmasked on many occasions because the lines weren't remembered. I applied to the BBC as an assistant floor manager, for which I got turned down. And a few weeks later applied as a director and got taken on, because they were taking more or less anybody then.
Do you know, there we were, I don't know, I was sort of 23 or 24, sort of strutting around with a leather jacket, you know. And what did I know, really? But I mean, it was the greatest experience of all because, you know, I had to get a script finished one a week.
I had a big stroke of luck. I knew a man from university called Roger Smith.
When we went on to the Wednesday play, Ken was, one of the most important young directors to get hold of.
The Wednesday play on the BBC was 35 or so feature-length dramas, single dramas. And Ken became virtually the lead director on that.
It was instigated with the brief of making television drama contemporary and urgent and just about the life everybody knew.
I very much wanted to take the BBC dramatic fiction out of the studio and into the real world and away from electronic cameras to use the new 16mm equipment.
We wanted to create something out just on a location with real life passing around it and amongst it and film it like newsreel. I don't want to romanticize it, but I think it was a period when everything was to be challenged.
It didn't feel easy. For me, it felt like daily bloody battle. I took a lot of pride in protecting everybody so that when we actually went off to make something, there'd be a freedom to make it.
It was an extraordinary time and an extraordinary privilege to be able to be part of that.
And so Ken, just by his quiet, approving manner and his unerring eye for what's truthful, was able to get performances that became really the gold standard for a sort of distilled naturalism.
I mean, I'm sure, if we were to see some of the work we'd done, then it would look pretty primitive and pretty, beginner's work. But nevertheless, I think what we were pursuing collectively was worth pursuing.
You know, our main objective really then was to try and talk to the audience and let the audience in a way have a voice, you know. And I suppose I've never really stopped believing that.
The old warhorse Cathy Come Home was, I think it's not too bad. I mean, I wouldn't, you know, make huge claims for it, and but I think the people in it did really well.
After he made Cathy Come Home, that the organisation Shelter was set up, because he'd actually drawn attention to the homeless, you know, to the plight of the homeless people in the big cities.
Filming Kes, it was one of those times when things just came together, you know, in a very happy way.
We believed that there would be talent wherever we went. And part of what the film is about is the waste of the most precious resource this country has, which is the talent and the ability of the next generation.
I thought you wanted to leave school.
I'm not bothered.
I thought you didn't like school.
I don't, but it don't mean to say I like work, does it? Still, I'll get paid for not liking it. That's one thing.
I suppose it is.
Almost all the kids are from that school, and it was only a 2-form entry secondary modern school. Brian Glover was from a school up the road. So it was very local.
And that, boys, is how to take a penalty.
It was a slow burner case. I mean, not a lot of people went to the beginning. It was mainly due to one or two critics who supported us, like Derek Malcolm.
Actually, I said, well, I couldn't understand a word of what was said in the first scene, and it's too dark anyway, and made a few criticisms of the film, and they looked very disappointed. But at the same time, I really did like the film. I thought it was a wonderful film. But there was a big fight as to whether it should actually go in the circuits at all.
It's one of the most heartwarming and uplifting films I've ever seen in my life.
I love it. I just loved the story, and I loved the acting, and I loved the way it was cast, and it was just beautiful, wasn't it? It was like a bloody ballet, for the one of it. The way it moved and all that. And it was great, yeah.
The cameraman was called Chris Menges, and Chris had worked with a Czech cameraman who'd been the cameraman on some of Milos Forman's films. And Chris talked about his work a lot. The camera being an observer rather than being on handheld and wobbling about and rushing after the action, but sitting back and observing it and lighting it in a way that was unobtrusive and sympathetic and naturalistic. And that in a way, that's the kind of style I've tried to follow ever since, really.
There was a very, very long period when he wasn't making films at all, when he was more or less dead as far as the general public were concerned. Nearly 12 years, I think.
It did feel as though nothing, that I could do, I would get nothing made ever again. And at that point I did a few commercials, which, I was very grateful for at the time, really, and worked with some nice people. I mean, it's not, given when you put your head above the parapet politically, it's not, there's a kind of incompatibility about it, which, I kind of was very aware of. But it was either that or leave the business, really.
And it was quite shocking to think of a major filmmaker in this country who was really up against it.
I just felt that here I had teamed up with a director who I respected hugely, and that, was, for some reason, one of the best directors around, who had been neglected and wasn't making films.
The route back in was David Putnam, really, and I'll be forever grateful to him because he commissioned the script for that became Hidden Agenda.
I mean, it was a great thriller. That was the great thing about Hidden Agenda. It was so unlike a Ken Loach film.
There was no roadblock. No witnesses were questioned. No resistance offered. The weapon found in the car had no fingerprints. Forensics showed that the shot that killed Sullivan was fired at a distance of 2 meters after the car had crashed.
The officers involved were acting on the assumption that both men were armed and dangerous.
Prove it.
What was Sullivan doing in Dungannon at 5 o'clock in the morning with Malloy?
Was there a warrant out for either
No,
of them?
there wasn't.
Then you've no case.
The focus that fell upon the film at that point meant that people became interested in Ken's work again, and so it did sort of kickstart the new career.
Any chance of a son? You've got more chance of seeing a one-legged cat fucking bury your turd on a frozen pond.
And then along came Riff Raff. The reviews were so good, and Ken, I think it was Ken, took the film up as well, and suddenly it all turned.
You all right there, Joe?
Stephen. I remember sitting there, it was one of the, possibly the first scene I'd ever been involved in, and I didn't know what was happening because there was a room full of guys and it went on for about an hour, just chatting, and I knew a little bit, like you had to change a mag and a camera and stuff like that. I wasn't aware of anything like that happening. There's no lighting, there's no tape for focus, there's nothing. So the camera's just getting moved around. You're aware at your periphery, your vision, that this camera's going by you, but you don't stop.
You forget you're in a film. It really, you know, because... and if you don't forget you're in a film, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Because remember on Ken Loach, nobody's out to look at you. Not even the boom operator can look at you. It's bizarre. It's like you're an Egyptian god or something. It's really... It takes a lot of getting used to. But the only people that can look at you is the continuity. Even first assistant directors who are there to stage manage everything, they have to press their noses against walls. Okay, Peter, in you go. It's like, why is nobody looking at me? Why is nobody, including the director? And that's the way Ken works. It's the invisible camera. Nobody's allowed to make eye contact.
He hides, you know, because I just thought I was sort of chatting away with Peter and I was just improvising. I mean, I knew about what we had to say. I knew that had passed. And I did have a wee kind of look for him, and he was like, he's not in the room, you know, but he was hiding behind a chair.
He doesn't break the illusion for the actors. They know what it's, they can't seek out, this is all going wrong, can you help me? You know, they can't say that because there's no one in the room to help them. There's just a camera, basically, and they've forgotten that.
You don't put things in their way, like giving them marks. When the guy's swinging the boom or the woman is holding the boom, they just don't stand in their eye line, so that the actor is free to relate to the other person in the scene without distractions.
It's a very special kind of character trait that you need. The quality of being there, but not making eye contact unless necessary, but still being very alert to what's going on.
I remember that one of the first days I asked for a mark, and it was like, we don't use that word. And so there's this freedom to, if you come in and you feel like you want to walk over there, then he's such an amazing camera team that he's worked with for such a long time, and that they will follow you over there, you know, because the room is lit to accommodate that if that's what the actor feels.
Well, a lot of the time you don't see them. If you're doing exterior scenes, say in streets, you won't see the camera. It's generally 150 yards up the road in a very long lens.
It changes your way of acting. You're not acting to different lenses, you're not acting to different sizes. And it's a tribute, again, to Barry and his team, that not only can he follow all these actors around, but he can make it look so beautiful as well.
So I had that real privilege of being the only person seeing the frame, seeing if it works, and seeing if, you know, and if you think there's no monitor, there's no playback, there's no rushes, he doesn't watch rushes, and he doesn't start to look at the film until he starts editing.
It isn't a standard shoot of wide shot, mid shot, close up, cut in. There is nothing standard about the way he shoots.
It's important not to make a kind of fetish about, you know, how you do things, because the only test is what you see. It's to make the thing live, you know, it's really to make it live.
I don't think anyone can criticise the films for not looking right, and when necessary, they look beautiful.
I think the point about film acting is that each moment needs to be absolutely true, and that you want to put them in a position in which they just go through the experience of the film, they go through the experience of the story, and they learn and they explore as they go.
In Carla's song, in the Glasgow section, Oyanka Kabeza's character had some dreams, nightmares about what had happened to her back home. So Ken films the nightmares in Nicaragua, comes to Glasgow, shoots the Glasgow section, and then goes back to Nicaragua and finishes the rest of the film. Now, there is no one in the world, I don't think, who would work like that, or would maybe even be allowed to work like that. But for Ken, it was vital for him that Oyanka had the actual memories in her head about what they'd shot while she was lying in the bed in Glasgow thrashing about having this dream. So it's that precise at times, you know.
Corre, Antonio! Corre!
The actors have to bring that story to life with a sense of spontaneity, with a sense of it just unfolding in front of our eyes. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, they discover the story as they go through. They might not get the script until the day before, 2 days before.
You know, in Coronation Street we work out all sequences, but at least you knew where you were in the script because you could read. But we can. There you go. Half a page. Learn that for tomorrow. Might have 4 lines. Make the rest up. It was amazing.
It's taught me to really listen to what they're saying, and to make sure that the sense of what they're saying is true, as opposed to what you normally do, which is following the script, following the lines, and making sure that they're adhered to.
It's a massively collaborative process, but obviously the story is the premise to it, it's the architecture for the whole piece, really. So we spend a great deal of time working very, very hard on it.
Some scenes may end differently because the actors play them in a certain way, but the essence of the script is not negotiable, really. And the dialogue is very important as written, and often, although we might extemporize around the dialogue, when you come to make the cut, you cut back to the script that, say, Paul has written.
You'll do the scene and he'll come up to you and he'll say, "What was that you said about, you know, the water?" And you go, "Well, I said the water was cold." And you go, "No." And he walks away. And you know that somehow that's important.
It's actually not acting as we know it. It's not intellectualized, it's not premeditated. You know, you could pore over a script for hours and days and weeks, and you can find all sorts of motivation and reasons why and why not. And sometimes that's good and sometimes it's bad. With Ken, it's completely stripped away, and what you get is just a very, very pure and undiluted reaction.
When you're in that Ken world, you kind of try to second guess him a wee bit, you know. You very rarely can. You try to second guess what the character's going to do, what's going to happen, what the film's about, in fact.
There is a Ken Loach type of actor. Not that they are no good anywhere else, but he's the one who brings the best out of them. And certainly in My Name Is Joe, he brought the best out of Peter Mullan, there's no question of that.
In the script, all that was written was, I think Joe said, "Fuck it." And the first take that we did, this venom came out of me, or him. And it was all improvised.
I know you don't mean that, right?
I hate your scumbag whore fucking life.
Joe, fuck off, man.
I hate your scabby fucking way.
Joe, don't say anything else. I know it's a drink, Tom.
When the scene finished, Ken came over and he just went, "Yeah, go for it."
Take you outside, I'd get a gun and I'd put a bullet through you, useless fucking he's your scum.
They know everything about their past, but they don't necessarily know what's going to happen. So if a surprise happens, then film the surprise, because you only ever get that once.
There's a scene in Sweet 16 where Liam goes into the toilet and it's a kind of test where he'll stab this guy at the toilet. And we set up the whole day, me actually stabbing this guy. We actually had a script with me reading that I've stabbed him, how I was getting away and stuff, and we rehearsed with the stunt guys running in, stabbing, bang, get out the way of the knife. And then he had me psyched up, rehearsed it. And then by the time the take came, I was bursting with rage going through this door. And I come through the door and I'm running for this guy to stab him. And about 10 guys just jumped out of these cubicles with baseball bats and started swinging at my head. And I was terrified, but jumping about at the same time. And you see every bit of that emotion in my face, and you would never have got that. I mean, as much as I like thinking I'm an alright actor, you would never have got that had I known it was coming.
Why rehearse it? Why mock it up if you can get it for real? In Carla's song, this one particular day, I got a very, very late call to come in. And I didn't know, again, of course, like, as usual, what the scene was going to be. And all Ken had said was that you're going to go up, shut the door, and then that's it. Okay. So we walk up the stairs, shut the door, okay, we'll cut. There's a key up on the ledge. Okay. Next time I shut the door, got and get a key for the ledge. Eventually, I'm inside. Ken kicks me out the room again. He says, this time maybe try a few doors. Okay. Tried a few doors, opened up the bathroom door, and there's a Yanker lying in the bath, and she's cut her wrist.
Fuck, fuck, fuck! Fuck!
Now, again, it's back to the NER. There's no acting required at all in that situation. There are no lines. I mean, you react in the way that you would react in life. Brilliant for the actor. And again, back to his method, one take when it got to that bit. Never, that was it. He had what he wanted because the reaction was real and it was true. So years later you laugh at that thinking, you know, just tell me that she's in that bath. But of course, had he told me that, he wouldn't have got the reaction that he wanted.
And you duck down, will you both duck down, and we'll see if anybody gets hit. I think as a director, the most valuable thing you have to work with is the actor's intuition, what they do instinctively without thinking about it.
I'm in the area doing drains, and I wondered if you'd like yours cleaned out.
There's nothing wrong with my mains.
I didn't know who was going to answer the door. You know, Ken had got all these people in, and I didn't know who. And a lot of that was off the cuff.
Not your mains, drains.
No, I'd have had them checked. There's nothing wrong with them.
Drains, D-R-I, drains.
I keep telling you, there's nothing wrong with my mains.
Not your bloody mains, your drains.
There's no need for that language.
Oh, hey.
Anyway, I'm not bothered. There's no need for that language at all.
So you don't want your mains doing?
No.
Sit down then.
Oh, just try me luck here in the church, see the priest, tell me any chance of a cup of tea. You're just the man.
Oh, my God. Oh.
Ken would say, have you ever been down a drain? No, I've not one of them. Well, just let's see how you get in, and if you can get out. What? Just see what it's like. What, down there? Yeah, and that's how he gets you in there.
Oh, bloody hell.
And you just get there and you don't know what's going to happen to you.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
And the water comes out here and it's like, you do jump up and it's real.
I think that did the trick, Bob. I think so, Father.
Oh, my God.
It just coaxes you in, you do it. You know, it's great to do it. You do anything for the man.
When we were doing Riff Raff, I played this builder and I break into these big £1 million flats. No, he said, in this scene, he said, I want you to get in through the window, go round here. He said, go round there. He said, and be nosy, you know, you've never been in a millionaire's flat before. I want to go to the toilet, you see, and I'm in my working gear, and I go into the bathroom, use the toilet, and I'm thinking, I'll have a bloody bath while I'm here. So I'm having a bath, and I'm in the bath in the nude.
Another bathroom here, which I think you'll find very impressive.
So I jumped up and grabbed a bloody bowl of that and covered me meat and 2 veg. They screamed and run that way because they didn't know I was in the bathroom.
Everything seems to be working.
And that's the first time I think my ass was seen on television. The first time of many, I might add.
Do you know what I think of you? Hey, hey, I get a fucking eyeful of that! Hey!
The nation's sovereignty extends not only to all the men and women of the nation, but to all its material possessions, the nation's soil and all its resources, all the wealth and all the wealth-producing processes within the nation. That means all of us here and all of us in this country own every bit of this country.
It's threatening to some people because, you know, they'll say, haven't times changed? Isn't the question different now? Well, you know, it is threatening when you say no. It's the same question. You know, it's those who have and those who haven't. You know, it's this class against that class. And he's prepared to say that.
He's always stuck to his guns. He's had the same politics. And in fact, I think in some ways, his politics and his commitment and his consistency was strengthened as time has gone on.
There are not all that many socialists left in England. He is a socialist and proud of it.
Your view of the world, your politics, to put it crudely, don't have a kind of direct one-to-one relationship with the films you make or what you say, but it informs it. It says this story is worth telling, that story isn't particularly significant.
In this earnest piece of social realism that we'll just do that shot once more.
There's nobody who quite has the legacy of Ken in terms of his beliefs and the consistency of his beliefs. He's always been true to who he is and true to his political sensibilities and true to his sense of fairness.
Politics informs your aesthetic of filmmaking because it determines how you photograph people. For example, if you put a wide-angle lens on and shine a light in somebody's right flat on their face and shoot them close up, you turn them into an object, which seems to me quite a right-wing thing to do. It turns people into objects. And so you can wage war against them, you can exploit them, you can discount them, you can call them asylum seekers and undeserving and expel them from the country. And it's a hostile view of people. If you put on a tighter lens and sit further back and light them in a friendly way, you identify with them and you share their feelings and you cry when they cry and you're angry when they're angry and so on. And there's a solidarity between the viewer and the person in the film.
I'm sorry, Blanca, you know, it's my fault. No, I'm responsible because...
No, you didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Fascists did.
Come on.
He is one of those very few directors who simply holds fast to his principles, right or wrong. That's that, as far as he's concerned. You won't change him. So you might as well celebrate what he is.
You know, people will look back at Ken Loach's films and they will be absolutely amazed. Because also, they are a social history of this country. And they're an accurate social history of this country. They reflect things as they truly are.
There isn't an awful lot of films out there which actually tell the story of a bus driver or a labourer. You know, who wants to make a film like that? Well, Ken does, because they're important and they reflect the times. That's why it's important. That's why it's essential to have someone like Ken Loach, because he tells you about the times that you're living in. And more importantly, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, people will be looking at that stuff going, well, that was Britain in the 90s.
I just think they're very, again, I return to that word, very pure stories about real people by a master filmmaker, really.
The qualities that are in his films transcend any of the criticism, simply because he actually likes human beings. He actually has a feel for their weaknesses and their strengths. And he has a kind of anger in him that a lot of people aren't treated better.
I can't move an injured man. Look, I know we shouldn't move an injured man, Mick. There's a lot of things we shouldn't do. I shouldn't be hanging a bucket off that bridge. We shouldn't be working without a lookout, should we? But we have.
What is it to be human and part of the world? You can't just walk away from what's happening, much as we would like to. And in the end, there is no home but the struggle.
And the Palme d'Or goes to Ken Loach. The wings that take the bar.
Maybe if we tell the truth about the past, maybe we tell the truth about the present. We made the film together. It's certainly not for me, it's for all of us. Merci à Cannes, merci à tous. Merci.
As people talked about the three-legged dog, there's one in this movie too.
Well, I think once accidentally, a dog who'd unfortunately lost a leg limped across the screen, and it sent everybody into a paroxysm of mirth, quite unfairly, because the poor dog, you know, was only doing his best. It became, for no good reason, but in the way the daft things do, latch on in moments of despair, that the idea of a three-legged dog that just happens to wander through a shot every now and then was a little motif. So now the three-legged dog is in the budget. And